I want to thank everybody for coming to TechLink's first technician webinar. This is a first in a series of multiple webinars we're going to be doing here moving forward. So if you liked this one, please plan on joining the other ones that you'll start to see communications coming out over the next couple of months. The first one we're going to talk about today is safety in the field. And we're going to have a couple different presenters. We're going to have myself, Bobby Kelly, Chief Operating Officer here at TechLink Services. We also have Jay Tabor, who's a Vice President of Sales Engineering, and Ron Nelson, who's Director of Project Management here at TechLink. So we're going to kind of tag team the webinar here as we move forward. I'm going to turn it over to Ron and Jay. They're going to cover construction site PPE, ladder safety, and aerial lift safety. So those are the four main areas that we're going to cover today. Also, one more thing to note that I forgot to mention is we are recording this. So if you have technicians that are part of your firm that also want to view this, we are going to be recording this and posting it to Knowledge Base at TechLink, and everyone will be receiving credit for attending this webinar. We're going to start tracking technicians that have been attending our webinars. Also, those that go in and view the recording of the webinar, they'll also receive credit for this. And here in the next, we're making a few coding changes in the portal. Here in the next month or so, you'll start to see all those recordings that you guys, or webinars that you guys have attended. So again, thanks for coming, and we'll get started here. Kick it over to Jay and Ron. Thanks, guys.
Hearing protection, eyes and face protection, foot protection, and hand protection. Head protection. Your hard hat's going to protect you from miscellaneous debris. People carrying ladders and unistrut or conduit, they're probably swinging that around, so it's going to protect you from being hit. It's going to protect you from electric shock. You stick your head up in the ceiling, there's often junction boxes that may have wires, that aren't terminated, and I treat them like they're hot. I've been zapped a couple times, so I like to treat them like they're always active. And it's just always a good best practice to wear a hard hat on jobs that are construction sites.
So yeah, hey, this is Ron. I just want to add in with Jay. So to adjusting your suspension of your hard hat to make sure it's comfortable and secure, being so it's tight enough not to fall off if you look down. I was on site and I had a guy up on a lift, and he looked down to yell something at his buddy, and his hard hat came off, and now you got a hard hat crashing down. So just make sure it's secure so it won't fall off. And the other thing I wanted to add is don't stuff anything inside your hard hat. If you do that and something falls on your head, the force of the impact it'll transfer through to your head, and basically the suspension system is worthless at that point. I also want to add that most manufacturers, back you up.
Sorry, I thought you were.
Most manufacturers do not recommend painting, and it avoids some of the manufacturer's warranties. If you guys want to add stickers are okay. Just be careful that they're tasteful and not offensive to the general public. Avoid wearing ball caps. Again, that'll mess with the suspension system. The winter liners or bandanas are okay, as long as they don't interfere with the suspension bands. Some hard hats you can wear them backwards. You just got to make sure the suspension system can be reversed and without modifying it. And I also wanted to add that a lot of the manufacturers, they recommend replacing your hard hat every 5 years, and sometimes sooner, just depending on your work environment, like extreme sunlight exposure, temperature extremes, chemical environments, whether you use it every day or occasional use, all depends on how long you should replace your hard hat. And the other thing is, if your hard hat, you do sustain an impact, manufacturers are recommending that you dispose of it immediately and get a new one, even if damage is not visible to the hard hat. There you go. Thank you.
Eye and face protection. Using safety glasses, is very common in the workplace. And I know that I prefer to, when I'm drilling or anything, even outside of a job site, to use safety glasses, to avoid getting metal in your eyes. And on job sites, there's often dirt, debris, depending on if it's outdoors or, you can have quite a few things floating around out there to get stuck in your eyes.
So guys, the important things to remember here are to select eye protection that is the best for whatever hazard you're working with. I like to use the example, I'll use goggles if I go up above a ceiling grid or I'm in an attic. You don't want to get, I don't know, I've had to get that, the fiberglass fibers that are floating around in your eye, and man, that's just a pain. So just use the appropriate eye protection for whatever you're doing. For the techs out there that are wearing glasses, make sure that you select eye protection that fits over them and they're snug and yet comfortable. And please keep them clean so you guys can see what you're doing. Also wanted to touch on, for the techs out there using laser levels, be sure you use the eye protection that came with that equipment. And just remember, it's better to be safe than sorry. You don't get a second chance with eye injuries.
Hearing protection. We often use tools that make noise, hammer drills, grinders, or you're on sites where people are using those tools, so you're subject to the noise that their equipment generates. So I would say it's always a good idea to keep these on your truck, keep them around. I don't always typically use them unless it's a loud environment. But I like to have them around just in case if you need to use a specific tool that makes a lot of noise or around that environment.
Yeah, so guys, if you look at this chart, you can see that this is the daily exposure. So if you're in an environment that has 90 dB of noise, background noise, you're safe within 8 hours that day to be in that environment before your possible hearing damage. And I just want to put some things in perspective. A normal conversation between people is between 50 and 60 dBs. Working with Jay, if he gets pissed off sometimes, that goes up to like 97. So you can see from this chart, I can only handle Jay yelling at me for like 3 hours before I want to get hearing damage. Other things are electrical drills. Those are 95 to 100 dB. Circular saws, 112 to 115 dB. Sawzall, 85 dBs. A hammer drill, 110. A shop vac, 77 to 80. And the one thing I wanted to point out is I've seen guys wearing earbuds, so they're listening to music or podcasts or whatever. You got to be careful with those because those are rated between 85 and 110. So if you're wearing earbuds to drown out background noise and you're cranking up your volume, getting up to 110, if you look at this chart, theoretically, you can only sustain that for like a half hour at that level before you can get hearing damage. So just want to point that out. Just be careful with wearing earbuds on site. Those earbuds are the pictures of the earplugs. They are rated by the noise. They have a noise reduction rating, which is like NRR for short. Those foam green plugs right there, they have a NRR rating of 33. So they'll knock down your dB level to 33 decibels by using those. The ones on the far right, the yellow ones, those things are ranked at 25. Their NRR ratings at 25, which is kind of nice because they're reusable as the foam ones kind of start wearing out during the day. So you're gonna have a little bit of a trade-off, but just pay attention when you're picking out your earplugs to the NRR rating for the environment that you're in. There you go.
Hand protection. Keep your hands safe. Your hands are the most commonly injured body part at the job site. Those are your best tools that you own. Take care of them. Make sure you have a glove that fits comfortably and it fits the what you're working with. It might be cold. You might want an insulated glove with grip. You just make sure it's applicable to whatever environment or work you're doing. I used to work in Phoenix, and we'd have to wear gloves in the summertime to pull unistrut out of the back of a van because it gets really hot. So just and make sure it fits, because you could cause you get your glove caught in something, pinched or something, and cause harm to yourself by not having the right fit for the glove as well. Foot protection. Wearing the proper footwear protects you from objects falling on your feet, maybe slipping. There's all sorts of things that can happen out there to your feet. And some examples here would be steel toe or a composite toe shoe, boot. I guess most importantly, have one that's comfortable and it fits you well, and that you can work a long day in and not be fatigued. Ladder safety. This is a great segment because I think this is something we've all probably violated once or twice. First, don't use a ladder if you can't lock the hinge, or they're really loose, or it's just don't use that. Make sure it can extend and latch. When you're climbing an extension ladder, make sure you keep 3 points of hand and foot contact at all times while climbing, and keep your body near the middle of the step, and always face your ladder when climbing. Don't go backwards or do something unorthodox. Next, don't place the ladder on any uneven surfaces, or use objects to extend your height, paint buckets, or anything strange like that. Using ladders in busy work areas, maybe a retail environment, or a convenience store. You don't want to use some safety for you and the patrons. You put some cones around it, caution tape or something. You wouldn't want to drop something on their head or have them not pay attention and walk into your ladder and knock you off the ladder. So that's a good practice. Make sure that when you're using a ladder, make sure it's free of oil, grease. Sometimes we're working in a lot of restaurants, and we're walking in greasy places, so be aware of that you don't have a bunch of grease on your feet or water, etc. And the last one we've never done, no one's ever done at TechLink or any of us, is stood on the top rung. So definitely don't stand on the top rung. That could you could fall off. It's like a diving board, or it doesn't look well to the customer. If somebody sees you doing that, it doesn't look well.
I got my hand raised.
All right. Weight limits. This is something I know that we probably don't think about as much as we should, but I think the load rating. So you're carrying a heavy piece of equipment up the ladder, and it's rated for 250, and then you weigh 250, and then you got another 70 on top of that. I think it's something just to be aware of, to follow the weight rating. And when you're setting up your ladder, be aware of open electrical panels or anything above, up in the ceiling. Be aware of anything that could be exposed or energized. Using accessories or any ladder jacks, or sometimes we use that to work on in unorthodox positions. We may have to put a plank across or whatever, but just make sure you're using something that's designed for it, or the manufacturer is made for your ladder, any kind of accessory. And make sure it's stable at all times. Don't move or shift the ladder while you're on it. Don't walk the ladder, kind of shimmy it while you're on it. So just get down and move it. So
hey guys, I just want to touch on this real quick. Easy tip for ladder setup. So first, make sure that wherever it reaches, it goes up at least 3 feet above the support. And then secondly, A really good little rules. Does everybody remember a 1x4 kind of a thing? And what I mean by that is whatever your distance is to the support, divide that number by 4. So just remember 1x4, take your number, and we'll just use an example of 20 divided by 4. So the base of your ladder needs to be 5 feet out from the wall.
All right. Scissor lift safety. Lead technicians should be the one to make sure that, you know, the site's safe, or the environment, you know, there's not big pits. You know, I'd like to have a person who's experienced, you know, the lead, or somebody that's certified. They would make sure that, you know, the environment is safe for you to work in. Please don't remove the guardrails. You know, use all the safety protection that is designed to operate with. And often you're going to use fall protection, a safety harness, and lanyard. That's, you know, some sites are very particular and they want you to use that. The lead technician, if you're working with a person who maybe doesn't have that much experience, you know, I would like to see that a lead is always with them or supervising. You can cause a lot of damage to walls and, you know, yourself, or crash. Always use caution. We've had some issues where we've caused some damage and we've had to take care of it. So you know, door frames and walls. So just always pay attention to what's going down below you. Ron, were you going to do the bottom part?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so just make sure that you're using your lift on even terrain. Make sure that the safety systems that stop collapsing are enabled before you get on it. Also use ground guides and avoid locations where there's electrical power sources. You don't want to go up and electrocute yourself. And then also never stand on the guardrails, and always watch for moving equipment. Don't want anybody falling off their platform.
All right, we are at the end here. We're going to take some questions and take a few questions.
Yeah, it looks like we do have, Jay, I'll kick off just a couple.
You want to do that
here.
first one? Okay.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a couple in here. The auto parts store, I mentioned, yeah, Victor, thanks for the advice there. Auto parts stores seem to have disposable gloves of varying thickness in stock. Myron, you mentioned that small owner pharmacies also seem to have some hand sanitizers, and they may also have some disposable gloves as well. So definitely some great options there for getting gloves and hand sanitizer. Let's see, a couple more that maybe I can address, and Jay, I'll let you guys take the very first one, but kind of a random question here. When are we going to add a section to the app that shows completed, pending, and paid jobs? We are in development of some changes on the app, and that's part of it. So it is currently in development. I don't have the timeline on that, but it is something that we have on the map and currently in the works right now. Jay, Ron, do you guys want to maybe speak to what your thoughts are on that first question?
I have one. And to answer the question, do you anticipate new opportunities due to COVID-19? Yes, I do. I do see, I feel that there's going to be a big change in the culture with, you know, obviously sanitation. So I would believe there's going to be some sanitation kiosk work, a lot of stuff like that. But ultimately, I think maybe not new opportunities to COVID, but I think right now, since we all know it's slow and people aren't fixing things, I think the new opportunity is going to be a lot of service work and repair. Right off, you know, when things open back up, I think there's going to be a lot of break fix, people putting Band-Aids on things until they can kind of get their finances back in check. So I would say yes. I think there's some opportunities. Can we get any cert or paperwork on these trainings?
I'll answer that one. So there's not certification. we're not sure yet as far as getting a piece of paper certification. However, if you look at your account here over the next week, you're going to see that we did credit you for attending this live webinar. So that will show up as part of your skills in the portal.
Hey, Bobby, to add on that, I think what
Yep.
we could do, and we probably should do, is provide links to certified, accredited facility. For the LIP, there are certified training LIP you can do online, so you can do that. They'll mail you, or you'll get an email that says you're LIP certified. So I think what we can do is provide, links to those that are from accredited agencies.
Okay.
And then another question was regarding the lifts. Do some require certification? Yes. It doesn't. I don't think that anyone's going to card you. Often the GC might ask you to see your card, but I would say in the best interest of safety, take the time, spend the $20 on the lift certification for you and your tech safety, and you know how to operate a boom lift. I've been in classes where you're in the field doing it, and it was a great experience. So it's take the initiative and take some classes and learn the best practices. We only covered scissor lift safety. There's a lot of different lifts out there.
Okay. Any other questions there? There are a couple. We'll reach out to individuals who asked for that. So we want to thank everyone for joining. This was our first webinar. Hopefully it was okay. And like I said, we've got some more webinars that we're going to be sending out here over the next couple of months with more specifics on the work that you guys do for TechLink, like instructions and safety on hanging screens, instructions and safety on mounting screens for ceiling mounts, different things like that. So, watch out for those emails coming in. If you have questions, you guys can always pick up the phone and call us or email back to those emails. So we appreciate everyone's time today, and thanks for joining.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.